Hey everyone, so I'm doing a kind of a special video for today. Today being July 16th, because for me, there are two things that actually happened on this day, ironically a year apart. Ironically, one of the things being one of my favorite things, and then another thing being a very sad thing, but something I am definitely honoring every year. And the thing is, there are two things that mean a lot to me, actually, two of people I have admired since I was a kid and have had a huge impact on me. So the first thing is actually back in 2016, I finally got to meet John Carpenter. And I'd missed out on meeting him twice before, and it always bugged me. And I finally got to meet him because that was when he was doing his music tour, where he went around and he was performing all of, not all, but a lot of the sort of main themes from a bunch of his films. And as I've mentioned in other videos, that was something that was so special to me. I mean, that was like the moment that those tickets went on sale, I jumped at it. I was living in Chicago at the time, so obviously I bought it for the Chicago show that summer. And again, I did the meet and greet, so I did finally get to meet him after so long. And that was amazing on so many levels, not only because I did get to meet him, but because as much as John Carpenter has been a huge influence on me from the films that he's made, but also the music that he's done. His music has been a huge influence on me because I swear every screenplay I've ever written, whether or not it's a feature-length film or a short film, or at least 90% of them anyway, there's at least some John Carpenter music that I will listen to while I'm writing or even just while I'm thinking about it, just to kind of help me kind of get in the mood. So his music has definitely been a massive influence on me in the creative sphere, as well as the movies that he's done. So getting to meet him, see him actually perform his music live right in front of me, and as I mentioned before, the Chicago show, I was the first one online to meet him. And I believe I made a video about it a while ago, but on both the concert Blu-ray, it actually starts with me. And in the behind the scenes documentary that they released, I think just earlier this year, I think that was this year, I'm actually in that several times. I mean, most of it is just, B-roll cutaways, but I'm actually in that a lot, which was really amazing. When I actually watched it, I was like, there's me again. There I am again, it's like, wow. But that night was so incredibly special to me. It's very personal on so many levels. Like, that just hit all the spots for me. So it's one of my favorite nights, I don't know if I want to say of my life, but kind of, at least to a certain degree. So obviously every year since then, it's a nice reminder of a night that was so special. But the memories of that night will definitely last me for the rest of my life. And then the other thing for July 16th, unfortunately on a sadder note, is a year later in 2017, that was the day that George Romero passed away. And as I mentioned time and time again, George Romero was also a huge influence on me, one of my idols, someone that influenced me from a very young age. And that one definitely hit hard when he had passed. I mean, I knew he had been sick, but I was still kind of hoping he'd hold out at least for another few years, even if he never made another film, but just kind of be around at least a little bit longer. So as much as I do celebrate his birthday, every year on the anniversary, for lack of a better word, of his passing, in his honor, I decided on the day when it happened that every year, because I kind of went through, I want to do something every year in honor of him that was kind of special. Obviously for me, you kind of go to the things that you love most. So for me, it was either going to be like, well, do I watch Dawn of the Dead? Do I watch Creepshow? My two favorites of his films, as much as I love them all. But I kind of thought, I want to watch, his favorites of his films, and it came down to a couple options. I know Martin was pretty much his favorite films of everything that he watched, but I kind of decided his favorite of his Dead films was actually Day of the Dead, and I think a lot of that had to do with just kind of the struggle to get that one made. We all know the stories about how he had to, drastically kind of rewrite it because the budget, unless he delivered an R-rated film, which he didn't want to do, he had to drastically cut back the film. And I think sort of being under that kind of deadline, and not deadline, but sort of having those constraints on him, actually I think brought out a lot of creativity for him. And also in many ways, I think because it was not really that successful at the time of the release. It wasn't a film that he talked about as much as he did like Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead or Creepshow or some of his other films. So I kind of figured, what, that's a good one to watch every year in honor of him. So July 16th, in an ironic way, has one of my favorite things and one of my least favorite things kind of almost at the same time. But it's a very special day because, again, I get to remember this amazing night that I had with the concert, and I get to revisit those memories, and then usually I end the day with watching Day of the Dead in honor of George. So it's kind of a personal thing with me. So as far as you guys go, I mean, obviously this is more of a me thing, but if you do want to share something as far as, for example, maybe what is your favorite John Carpenter score. If you have one, I would love to know what it is. I know that's definitely something I want to cover once I finally get into my soundtrack series. I definitely want to cover all the John Carpenter scores and themes and things like that. And in the case of George Romero, do you do anything on this day to kind of honor him? Or if you just want to share a memory of him, maybe like the first film you ever saw of his, or the one that maybe just had the biggest impact on you, something George. So just something a little bit different and a little bit more personal for today. So again, if you have any memories or anything that you want to share, definitely let me know. And as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.